I'd be lying if I'm not eager to just see how it looks now in a more, where everybody's sort of knows their role. Somehow we went full circle with the wrestling and coming back to the Rock. But if everybody knows their role and is and understands the hierarchy and doesn't get outside themselves. Now, the big outlier in all this is Schroeder. And this is the one reason I didn't love the signing, is that I do think you have a guy who quite clearly turned down $20 million a year, and his entire goal this season is going to be to get back to a level where he's making 20 million or plus a year, wants to be $100 million guy. How does he do that when he's not potentially a starter, when his desires offensively could conflict with what the team how it does its best? So eager to see, but it's also where, if it doesn't work, tradable asset. There will be playoff teams out there that will covet a player with that much talent. But he's the one guy where I'm like, he's got to really sort of check the ego at the door and buy into what Brad and Ime are trying to do.
That's it's just, that's where I get sort of, my brain goes into a pretzel, because I don't understand how you can serve both masters there. I don't understand how, like, people have written about it, like how Dennis Schroder can be the best version of himself, and that's the best thing he can do for the Celtics and fit right in. And it's like, well, great. If he does that and he's averaging 10, 12 points a game, and he's a playmaker, and he's not a distraction, he's a good teammate, good soldier, good whatever you want to classify it as, but he's largely coming off the bench and all of that, fine, great. I mean, good for the Celtics, which ultimately is what I care about. But in what way is that going to lead him to a $80 million deal? It's not.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of money out there next year either. You've seen a lot of guys like Josh Richardson sign for essentially mid-level money because they know that second kind of cut of guys is not going to get the few pennies that are out there. So I think Schroeder does have to worry about that in terms of, even if he has a great year, is he going to get what he desires? He's just really sort of trying to play himself into one of those few teams that has money to spend in a market that will have less point guards than this past summer. Maybe he finds a situation. But my pitch to him, if I'm Brad Stevens and Ime Udoka, is let's roll it back to when you were in Oklahoma City, when you were six-man of the year candidate, and like how much better.
But didn't he average like 18 points off the bench that year?
He did. And so, but look, the Celtics bench might need scoring. Like, I don't know who's scoring on this bench. If Nesmith starts, Josh Richardson and Schroeder could be like your main offensive weapons. Peyton, if he, depending on how much he plays, there might be an opportunity for him to take a bunch of shots with that second unit. But there is going to be a balance, and you might just have to be okay with, if the Celtics exceed expectations and if Schroeder's a part of that, then his value will just go up naturally. It's the same reason that, like, when teams have success, assistant coaches get better chances for head coaching jobs, because we have this, we just not trick ourselves, and some of them are largely deserving, but there's also this notion of like, wow, the Patriots win a lot, so their assistant coaches must be great as head coaches. Doesn't always work out. So, right. If Schroeder buys in, and that's going to be tough for him, I do think the riches await. And if not, you know what? Again, they'll trade him to a contender, and it's a hard situation because teams aren't going to have his rights and aren't going to be able to pay him. But he's just got to be patient, and he's got to fire his agent for not getting him that. Or maybe it's just all on Schroeder. Maybe the agent was like, you really need to take this extension, and Schroeder just didn't do it and put himself in this position. But
I can almost picture like Nerlens Noel sitting there going, "Bro, don't, you got to take it."
I don't think it was a coincidence that what was it, like a day after Schroeder signed, Marcus Smart signed his extension. Like, right. You know what? 4 years, $77 million sounds pretty good, and a starting role and some security. You don't want to, turn down, the golden offer when it's there, because you just never know what's ahead. And so, hey, that's why it's always a risk reward for all these guys, and Rob too. Like, I was stunned the number Rob signed for, but he's probably looking at it the same way that the Celtics did and said, you got to prove it. You got to stay healthy. And you're probably not going to have a huge market if you don't next year. So take your payday when you can.